opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network. And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Wednesday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you by our good friends right above our heads on Wednesdays. They get the big logo today. Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig. Scotty Mincher to my right. My sidecar, my buddy. Scotty, how we doing this week?
I'm good. I'm ready to roll today.
Your Browns got out of the pit of despair and got themselves a win. So he's feeling a little fly with the sideways hat, feeling a little bit like he's about to spit some bars on me.
Yeah, a little bit. I was thinking about how I was gonna complete this outfit, and when I put the hat on, I didn't realize it was that way. But I think I'm gonna.
No, you realized, you're trying to rock it. It's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, it was a good win because starting 0-2, it doesn't mean you're done as far as the playoffs, but it's never good to be 0-2. So.
It's not good. It's not good. The Bengals. Ugh.
Yeah, Ravens too.
They had us. They had us bad. I was sitting there like, and then the rookie safety makes the one mistake he can never make at the end of the game and gets there way too early. They had to call that pass interference. I don't care what people say. He got there like a second before the ball did and jumped right on his back. That's a penalty no matter what you're playing, no matter what level you're on, no matter when the game is. So, thank you.
That was on the fourth down play.
Yeah, 4th and 16. I mean, people get – we're going to go on an NFL tangent for a minute. Then we're going to get to scores for local. But people get so upset about that play, but they forget that we got called for a hands to the face call the play before it that made it 4th and 16 after we converted the 4th and 6. So it's like the refs were not favored. We got shafted on a play – one play before that to make us go to 4th and 16. So the refs aren't completely slanted towards the Chiefs. It was just it was pass interference. Like, I don't know what you want, but it's fun. It's fun being the hated team that everyone's in it. We can win 38-7, Scotty. We can win 38-7. And people would break down the film and like pick out every single little missed call that happened and be like, see, it's scripted. The Chiefs are getting favored by the refs because they just don't want to admit that we're just that good.
Well, wasn't it too? What was it last year? Weren't people saying the lack of holding call or no
last year
in the Super Bowl?
Last year we had the most penalized player in the NFL on both sides of the ball. But somehow we were favored and the refs were on our side. Whatever. Whatever makes you sleep at night, NFL fans. You're 0-2 Cincinnati. We're 2-0. And nothing's going to change it. Eye test doesn't count in NFL. This isn't college football. You don't have to win pretty. You just have to win. All right, Scotty, let's get to the scoreboard. Let's pop up to see what happened last night in the Ysn family. Scoreboard on your screen there. Scotty, Scoreboard presented by
Burnett Pools, spas and hot tubs. We've got it all.
They have it all. We have it all. We have the scoreboard, which is a great and easy tool for the YSN fans to get live updated scores from your favorite teams across the YSN family. If you're at one of the games or watching one of our broadcasts, you don't want to look away from the action for too long, and the YSN scoreboard is a great, fast way to get the live updated scores across the YSN family. Whether it be your heated rivals or your best friends, you'll be able to find out how they're doing on the YSN scoreboard. And it can be found at ysnlive.com/scores, and it is presented, as Scotty said, by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. Let's go into last night and see what happened in volleyball. It is a 3-0 sweep for Jefferson, but Conneaut had a milestone, so we want to put that out. Conneaut setter. I want to confirm the name here for a minute. Conneaut setter Lexi Brown had her 1,000th career assist in the match, so we want to congratulate her. On that milestone, Jefferson does get the win in straight sets 3-0 to bounce back from their loss on Monday to Lakeview. Lakeside was able to try to hold off Madison, but Madison gets the 3-0 sweep over Lakeside. West Branch won the first set of the match 30-28, but Marlington was able to bounce back, win 3 in a row. They beat West for the second time this year. 4 sets was the final in this one, 3-1 Marlington. Perry goes to Orange and gets the big win over the Lions on the road. Beaver Local, they are having a really good week, 3-0 sweep over Brook. We go to Edison. They fell to Harrison Central in straight sets. Fitch also quickly takes care of Warren Harding in straight sets as well. Ursuline falls to Kensington Catholic 3-0 on the road. Champion is able to win over Brookfield 3-0. Had a milestone in this one. Champion libero Avery Boggs gets her 1,000th career dig, so congratulations to her. It must be the week of milestones. Right towards the middle of the season, people are starting to get those milestones because we've seen a lot of them this week, and that is just the latest one. And I'm sure we'll see a few more throughout the rest of the season. Campbell goes to Waterloo, gets the straight set victory, 3-0 there. Beaver wins against Central Valley in straight sets, 3-0. Beaver is killing it this year. That is their 14th win of the season over in PA. Those Bobcats, got to watch out for them. Youngstown East gets the win over Cheney in straight sets, 3-0. We have Crestview. They are able to beat Liberty in straight sets, 3-0 inside the MVAC. Garfield gets the season sweep of LeBray. LeBray gets a set this time around, but not enough to win over the G-men. Garfield win that one 3-1, the final score there. They keep pace with Crestview. Talking about it yesterday, Scotty. Garfield has 1 game back of Crestview, so they needed to keep pace. So when they play Crestview again, they're just that 1 game back. It would be a championship matchup in Garrettsville. So they do that. Their biggest test was going to be LeBray. They got past it in 4 sets, and now they decided to take care of business until they play Crestview again in a couple of weeks. Girard, they were able to win against Struthers. This is the second round of NE8 play, so they've played everyone 1 time. Now they're starting to play everyone for a second time, and Girard gets the season sweep over Struthers. And the sweep in the match, 3-0, the final score there. A wild one in Boardman, but Howland able to pull it off. 3-2, your final score. Sienna Dykes, 21 kills, for the Tigers. Maya Flores, 18 kills. So those two were going at it all night. It was a fun battle to watch, but the Tigers pull it off. How about, speaking of the Tigers, though, Jackson Milton with the upset of Springfield on the road. They go into the jungle, and the Blue Jays, those birds are known for going into other birds' nests and kicking them out. I think that Blue Jays kind of fit into that mentality because they went into the Tigers' den and they kicked them out of the gym and said, we got this. We got this. They win in 5, 3-2 over Springfield. Big win for Jackson Milton. And a big loss for Springfield as they had hopes of trying to get an MVAC championship, and that's going to put a big dent in their excuse me, in those, whoo, in those hopes. Deep breath. Let's go to Heartland Christian. They are hosting Lindsley, and they fall 3-1 to Lindsley. Columbiana gets a little bit of a fight from Lisbon. One set was actually 25-23, but the Clippers escape, and they get the win 3-0 over the Blue Devils in the EOAC. Badger gets the win over Lordstown in straight sets 3-0. We go to back to PA. Mohawk falls to Shenango in straight sets. McDonald gets the win over Mineral Ridge in a wild one as well. 3-2 the final score. I want to go over the stats for this one because McDonald's stats they were able to put up were insane. They put up a lot of high numbers. We'll start with Gianna Costantino, who was one game out of getting her 1,000th career kill. She got that on Monday, so she comes back on Tuesday. Adds to it 20 kills, 14 digs for her. But if one player with 20 kills wasn't enough for your appetite, if it didn't do it for you, how about also Haley Kuntz, the freshman, also getting 20 kills on the night? And if two players with double-digit kills wasn't enough for you, Scotty, if you still weren't impressed, they had a third with double digits, with Sierra Shiley getting 10 kills on the night. So between those three, that is 50 kills between three players on the night. Setter Ava Solomon had 51 assists. You had digs all over the place from Miley Titus, their libero. She finished with 23. And Gianna Costantino had a double-double with the 14 digs. You also had 12 digs and a double-double for Solomon to go along with her 51 assists. So McDonald lightened up the stat sheet. They got all they wanted from Middle Ridge, but eventually they were able to get the win. That means both wins against the Rams this year for McDonald are in 5 sets, Scotty. They know how to do thrillers between those two.
Yeah, thrillers. And they're getting a lot of contributions from everybody as well. A three-headed monster to help them get the victories.
In fact, Scotty, the last 3 matchups between these two, going back to last year, all going 5 sets. Middle Ridge won the last matchup of the year last season over McDonald in 5 sets. McDonald won these two. So the last 3 matchups between these two teams, all going 5 sets. So that's going to be something that they remember going into next year when they meet up again. Newton Falls gets the 5-set victory over Southeast. Lily Sate has a really big game for the Tigers in their win. Poland gets the win over Niles, second win of the year for the Bulldogs. That's got to feel good as they go on the road and get a 4-set victory over the Dragons. Pymatuning Valley, a 5-set win over Wyndham. 3-2 the final score there. South Range goes to Hubbard, falls to the Eagles 3-0. The Eagles have swept the Raiders in both their matchups this year. Speaking of Eagles, we go to United, and they go on the road, and they win over Latonia 3-0, the final score there. East Palestine is able to win over Valley Christian 3-0, the final score, a straight sweep for the Bulldogs. Wellsville gets the sweep over Southern inside the EOAC 3-0. Beaver Local beat St. Clairsville last night, and then tonight, East Liverpool. Last night, Beaver Local beat St. Clairsville Monday night. I'm still in Tuesday mode, Scotty. Beaver Local beats St. Clairsville Monday night. East Liverpool beats them on Tuesday night. 3-0 the sweep there. Edgewood gets the win over Geneva in 4 sets, 3-1 the final there. Salem gets the win over Minerva. Gets the loss over Minerva 3-0 the final score there. And last but not least, St. John stays undefeated. They win over Maplewood 3-0 the final there. Let's go into boys soccer. See what happened on that slate. Jefferson, Pie Valley. It's the Falcons with the 2-0 victory in that one on the road. United beats Ursuline. That's a big win for the Eagles out of the EOAC. 3-2 the final score there. South Range edges out Niles 3-1. I'm sorry. The final score. The Raiders get the win. Worcester gets the win over Hoban 4-3. Perry wins over Edgewood 3-0, the final score there. Lakeview gets the win over Girard 3-0 as the Lakeview boys soccer team continues to be a thorn in the NE8 side. Beaver Local gets the win over Harrison Central 5-0, the final score there. Orange and Lutheran West, it is Orange with the 4-0 shutout victory. Grand Valley gets the win over Matthews 5-1. Cardinal Mooney with the win 6-0 over Canton Central Catholic. Salem, they're able to hold off Carrollton, a big win for them, 8-1, the final score. West Branch falls to Alliance on the road in a close one, 2-1. We go to Canfield Fitch in the AAC. What a defensive battle this was, but Canfield kept the pressure on. They outshot Fitch 15-7. It was eventually Brady Casey that got the lone goal for Canfield in about the 26 mark in the first half, and Canfield gets the win 1-0 over the Falcons in Greenwood Stadium in Austintown. Howland, they're able to decimate Warren Harding 8-1, the final score there. Hubbard gets the win over Poland 2-1. That's a tough one for the Bulldogs, and a big win for Hubbard. And then last but not least, Boardman goes on the road to St. Vincent St. Mary, gets the win 3-1. Girls soccer, we only had 5 games on the slate. Pymatuning Valley gets the win at home against Jefferson 4-1. Perry goes on the road, beats Edgewood 7-1. Lakeside falls to Madison 8-0. East Liverpool wins over Edison 6-0. Last but certainly not least, Conneaut and Geneva playing each other. The Eagles get the 1-0 win over Conneaut on the girls soccer side. So that is your volleyball soccer scoreboard. Scotty, we want to talk first about the game I was at last night, and I went to Hubbard and South Range, and I got to see the Eagles live for the first time, Scotty. And when I say Hubbard's defense is good, I mean they're unreal. Like they were not letting any of the balls drop at all. It was so hard for South Range to put balls down against this Hubbard team. Their offense is good. They have a good offense that can swing hard, but their defense wins some games. Their defense keeps the ball up in the air. It's fun to see a volleyball team that is really, really good with being really good record. That's their 10th win of the season. And their backbone is defense, because a lot of the teams that are really good this year, defense is good, but they kind of hang their hat on their offense. They all have strong hitters. They swing really hard. They put a lot of pressure on other teams. It's really nice to see a team that's really good, that's having a good record season, and they're doing it with defense being the headlining skill that they have. Like they are known for defense. That's fun to see.
What do you think? What would you say? And because you know a ton about volleyball too, and covering it for years, but what would you say you attribute it more to? Is it quickness, defense, or do you think it has to do with alignment and having players in position? Do you think it more has to do with that?
Both of those go into it. Like you have to be fast and you have to be in the right spot. But I think at the end of the day, there are a lot of teams that are in the right spot and then have quick athletes back there that still don't do as well as Hubbard. It's just an effort and a communication and a just desire to not let any ball drop. I mean, the amount of people on Hubbard's team that are willing to just go all out to get a ball, even if there's probably a 10% chance that they can actually get the ball over the net. Like you take away a stat, even if you get a second touch and you don't get the point, you still are able to say, hey, you don't get a kill on that, right? So if there's a second touch, volleyball 101, to get a kill, you have to swing it over, and it's either got to hit the ground or it's got to be touched once. If it's touched twice, you don't get the stat. You get the point maybe, but you don't get the stat line. So there are teams that take pride in even taking kills away, being like, hey, you know what? You got the point. Congratulations on that, but you didn't get the kill, right? So there's a lot of plays like that from Hubbard where it's like, okay, South Range got a kill, but man, the effort that they were just kind of running into the bench and running down the floor and diving everywhere. We're gonna do whatever it takes to keep this ball in the air for as long as possible. and that's a mindset. That's just a mentality. That's a character thing, and I think Hubbard kind of has bought into this idea that we are a defensive team. Like we win when we keep the ball up in the air. We outlast other teams because eventually, if you make a team keep having to swing it over, those hitters are going to lose a little bit of exit velo on that swing, and then you're going to get in the system, and then Hubbard has people that can't put it down. Their offense isn't bad. They're a good team. You need a good offense to be a good team, but their defense is where they hang their hat, and that's what's fun.
So you think that a lot of it's just been they've been able to outlast.
Yeah, like they beat Canfield on Monday, and like I watched the film on the huddle camera. It wasn't Canfield's best day, no doubt. Like Canfield will say that they didn't give Hubbard their best game. They were a little bit sloppy. There were a lot of errors on Canfield's side. But at the same time, like a lot of those errors came because it was the third hit of the volley, or it was just so hard to put balls down against that Hubbard team. It mentally, not even physically, more so mentally, really wears out a team when they keep hammering it and they keeps getting popped up and they're like, what do I have to do to get a ball to drop on the floor? It's almost, I know you're a big baseball fan, Scotty. It's almost like a pitcher that keeps getting fouled off and he's thinking like, what do I have to do to get this guy out? That's almost how hitters feel when defenses keep just digging balls up. It's almost like, what do I have to do to put this ball on the ground? And eventually they make a mistake or their hits don't get as crisp, and then that's when Hubbard gets in the system, and that's where people like freshman Layla Songer can put it away. Lauren Komorek, who is a senior outside hitter, she can put it away pretty well. Their middle blocker, I was really impressed with Offie there, and Aaliyah. Don't you hate it when the name just goes right out the window? You
Yeah,
had it when you had it when you were saying it, and then like right when you get to it, it goes whoop. Last name. I'll look up the roster. I'll get that. I'm not gonna let that go without being a shout out because she definitely deserves a lot of credit for the game that she played last night. And then Jillian Palumbo, the libero, the senior libero for Hubbard, just phenomenal defender. Really good. And what's gonna be a shame is like when people look at her stats at the end of the year, probably not gonna be like the eye popping big numbers that are gonna get her like talked about with like the best liberos in the area because her team is so defensive that a lot of people get digs. So it's kind of like stats can be misleading because I think she is a fantastic defender back there, but because her team is so defensive and she doesn't have to carry the weight of every dig, I do think that maybe her stats are going to be a little bit lower than some of the liberos in the area, but I would put her up against anybody as far as defenders in the back row.
so you do think it is more, especially in how it ties into the volleyball world. You think for Hubbard it's more of a mentality and
Oh
mindset
yeah,
than
mentality, culture, effort. I mean, look, like I said, they definitely they have athleticism, they have all the tools you need, but so do a lot of other teams, and a lot of other teams can't put the ball up in the air like Hubbard can. So it goes past having the talent and athleticism and being able to put yourself in the right position. That's all worth it. That's all a part of Hubbard's game. They obviously play really good defense positionally wise. They're putting themselves in the right spot. They have really good athleticism. That's all a part of it. I'm not going to say that that's out the window, but it goes past that. It's we have all that, and we have this mentality and this effort and this culture that says we're just not going to put the ball down. And that's a lot of kudos to their coaching staff to build that culture.
yeah, I was gonna say a lot of that is instilled from
Mhm.
the coaching and um. Do
Look, I
you
mean, like for example, Scotty, in that game, I think if you lined up the players and the athletes on both sides of the net, I think they're pretty even. Like I think South Range has athletes. They have people that are in the right spot. They have people that can move. Hubbard does too, but you saw the disparity. Like Hubbard was consistently there, and South Range was hit and miss, and That's things that go past just athleticism and quickness and volleyball IQ. Um, but I do want to give a shout out because Anna Toy is always fun to watch. Anna Toy is definitely the backbone of that South Range offense. She came into the night with 175 kills already, and we're about halfway through the season. So she might end the year with somewhere around 400 kills, which is ridiculous. She leads the team in kills by over 100, and it's not even it's not close, right? So um, it's remarkable what she's able to do. She's always fun to watch, but they're gonna have to help her out a little bit. She needs more than it needs to be more than her putting the ball down. So if South Range wants to succeed, they're gonna have to get consistency from their other hitters. Now that it's there, you can see it. Like you can see Addison Freedy, she can hit, and you can see Ella Crumbacher, like she can do it. They're just looking for consistency at South Range right now, like consistently being able to do it. They let teams go on way too big of runs. Hubbard it was tied or it was close, like 13-13, somewhere around that point. And then Hubbard goes on like a 6-7-0 rally, and it's like, okay, this set's over. So you just got to find consistency. If you're on South Range's side of the floor, you got to stop teams from being able to take, 6-7 point runs. And a lot of those runs are kind of self-inflicted. You're putting the ball in the net, your service errors, you're not getting good passes on serve, receive, things that are in your control. Very rarely in high school do you see a team go on a big run simply because they're constantly putting the ball down on good volleyball, right? So if you're playing clean volleyball, it's hard for the other team to really go on a big run. So you look at that for South Range and go, why are we letting teams go on 7, 8, 9 point runs? Well, there's a big part of it that it's a lot self-inflicted. So the Raiders have to just do a little bit better job of getting consistent. And I think the pieces are there. And if they do get consistent, they're going to be a very dangerous team come postseason.
Do you think you were talking about culture earlier and it sparked something in me? I was just curious. Do you think with culture, like it could instantly go one way or the other as quick as like in 1 year or one season, or do you think most of the times with culture and that winning mentality it takes years, like several, like say 2, 3, 4, 5 years? What are your thoughts on that?
Normally it takes a while to build like an established culture, but we have seen in every sport, we've seen a coach come in and turn a team around, or we've seen culture just get turned around in an instant. I mean, you look at some teams in the area right now in every sport. Like there are some teams that have just found a groove, right? And that because of that success, then the culture gets built a little bit. Culture's a lot easier to build when you got the results, right? When you can say, "Hey, we're doing all this and we're winning, so that's why we're doing all this." It's a lot easier to buy into a culture when you're winning. So, I think cultures can be built pretty quick, but most of the time, in general, you take 2 or 3 years, a consistent coaching staff, you build the culture.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think there are times when you could see it flip pretty quickly, but I think to get that in coaches and teams, you want that peak level performance to get it to where you're established and you have a great chance to win every time you go out. Not just that, but continuity, everybody being on the same page, that continuity. I think it does a lot of times take years. You talked about Hubbard and just everyone communicating,
Mhm.
being on the same page, and
Hubbard,
sometimes that gets overlooked.
Hubbard's been trying to get back to the greatness of their volleyball program was not too long ago, for a couple of years now. And when they had players like Adria Powell who went on to play at Ohio State, this volleyball program was one of the best in the area, period. And that was right before they came on YSN, unfortunately. So we didn't get a chance to really, cover that team. But when that class graduated and Adria Powell left a little bit early to go to Ohio State, it seemed like it was just one of those windows where you had a little bit of a fall off there. And now they're trying to work their way back up. and I think they're pretty there. I mean, they have a couple of seniors that will be a tough thing to lose, but they have a lot of young talent. I mean, Songer is a freshman, so they're right there. They have 10 wins right now. They just beat Canfield on Monday. They're not quite at the echelon that Lakeview and Girard are at right now in the NE8, but they're chipping away. And Lakeview's going to lose a lot of people next year to graduation. So you wonder if Hubbard is just kind of biding their time a little bit, chunking away, and then next year is going to be a year where they can really, make a big run in the conference. Scotty, we're talking about NE8 Hubbard, NE8 South Range, and Radar's hit in the comments section. He wants to know about a big NE8 football matchup on Friday. South Range, Struthers. Everyone knows it's big. It's being talked about on YSN. DJ has talked about it on Power Hour. It's being talked about on WFMJ. I'm sure it'll be one of the highlighted games they do with DJ a little bit later on in the week. This is going to be a awesome football game, right? I mean, this is what we pay for.
It should be, yeah. It should be a dandy. And Struthers, they got a scare put into them a week ago. So you wonder. I don't think it was the case, but sometimes it's human nature, and you get caught looking ahead a little bit. We've seen there was that game a couple years ago, Struthers and South Range, Anthony, when Struthers had like 6 turnovers and they still ended up winning the game. And I think it was the year they won the state title as well. We've seen Struthers give South Range issues. Do you think that um, do you think it's as simple as if South Range stops the run, they stop Struthers going into this game, or do you think it's maybe a little bit more complex than that?
No, I mean that's a key, to beat DJ has said it before, and I believe it too. And this has been true of South Range teams for a while now. If you can't be a balanced offense, you're not going to beat them. They are really good, kind of like the Patriots used to be, at taking what you do best away. Right, you're not going to go in as a big running team and run for 200 yards against them because they know that's what you want to do. And you're not going to go in there as a big passing team that passes first and never and pass for a bunch of yards because they know that's what you like to do. So South Range has always been really good at taking what you're best at away. So you have to kind of do what you're good at, not best at, really well to beat South Range. So Struthers going to have a very balanced offense. And you know what, Scotty? You're looking at the history of the NE8, and I've said this before too. Every year, there's that one team that everyone kind of thinks this is going to be the team that pushes South Range. And in that game, the Raiders are like more locked in than ever before, and it ends up being, a no contest. And as much as I want this game to be really, really good, and I think it has the potential to be really, really good, there's something in the back of my head going, history repeats itself, right? Like South Range knows that everyone thinks that Struthers is a team that's going to push them. They've been hearing it. They know how good Struthers has looked. They're looking at this like it's their time to make another statement. Like we're still the big boys on town. Like don't forget that we're the champs for a reason, right? No one's ever went into South Range and won in the NE8. Their only league loss is on the road. So no one's ever gone into South Range in this conference and won. And I think there's a little bit of mentality of South Range of like, don't forget that, right? Like, don't forget that we are that team. We are him. We are him in South Range. And there's this sneaky suspicion that this is going to be a game where South Range puts their foot in the dirt and says, don't forget who we are. Remember who we are. James Earl Jones passed away. One of his best vocal lines, I think, is Mufasa saying, remember who you are, right? So I think South Range this is a game where they have the opportunity to put their foot in the dirt and say, remember who we are. Remember that we're South Range. Like, that's who we are, and you're not. And hopefully Struthers can make this a game. And I think they can. I think they have the talent to do it. I think they have the linemen up front to do it. I don't think they're going to be pushed around. But there's this like I said, history kind of repeats itself, and I I tend to think that like all this talk all week about Struthers going to come into South Range and make this a really good game. Like South Range hears that, and every year when they hear that, this is the game that kind of ends up being all South Range. The ones that have been close, Scotty, have been the teams that aren't in that conversation, right? So like that year that Struthers pushed South Range, Struthers wasn't the talk of the town, weren't the talk of the league that year. Everyone was talking about Poland and Hubbard. I think that was the year where Gerard was undefeated when they played South Range. Now all of a sudden it's Struthers is that team that this is gonna be it. And I don't know. Scott. I don't know how to pick this one. It's rough.
You think maybe it was a case of even that game a few years ago? You think maybe it was more of a case of not South Range completely taking Struthers
But I
lightly,
mean, I think Coach because
because
I think Coach Yeagley would agree because he was the coach back then. Like 6 turnovers or 5 turnovers tells you like they weren't locked in, right? When you turn the ball over 5 times, you're not completely locked into that game. So, but when South Range plays that team that everyone thinks is going to be the team, that's when they lock in, right? All 100% completely locked in.
and
That's what makes them dangerous.
that's kind of how I'm feeling as well in this game. Also, you know, Struthers really had the fight last week to win the game. From the Struthers side, do you think it was more just good on Gerard last week, Anthony, and they had a good game plan, and you just have to give them more credit? Or did you think Gerard maybe exposed some cracks in there that South Range, is gonna be ready to take advantage of?
All respect to Gerard because they played really well and they gave Struthers a heck of a fight on the road, by the way, that was in Struthers. But I think everyone in that Struthers building knows that they did not play a good first half at all. They let a lot of things go. They turned the ball over. They just weren't playing good football. And Gerard had opportunities to make that a lot worse than 14-0, right? So it could have gotten a lot worse for Struthers. Now they picked it up and they said, you know what, we're not doing this. In the second half, they scored all 28 of their points in the third and fourth quarter. So they kind of put everyone on like notice, like, hey, this isn't who we are. So I think it was an execution thing on Struthers. Like I don't think they were playing their best. Props to Gerard for taking advantage of that and being able to make the plays that they did. But I think there was a lot of Struthers not playing well in that first half, and then we saw the real Struthers show back up in the second half and really dominate the second half. I mean, they were down 14-0, then won 28-21. So they outscored Gerard 28-7 in the second half. So I think Struthers kind of proved that was the Struthers we need to see all 4 quarters if they're gonna test South Range.
Uh, do you think for Struthers though? And this is kind of my last question on this. To give them that Struthers team we saw in the second half of last week, all 4 quarters, it's like to be able to knock off South Range. Do you think that they could get away with like getting to that level? Do you think they'd have to be almost perfect to do it, or do you think they just got to be really good, maybe control the ball and not turn it over, or do you think it's going to take more of a Herculean type effort to beat South Range?
Is there a middle ground? Like I don't think they have to be like out of their mind good to. I think they're talented. Like when I say a team has to have a Herculean effort, in my mind, I'm thinking like they have to play better than they've ever played before, right? That's what when I'm saying that, that's what I'm thinking. I don't think Struthers is that far off the South Range where there's this huge gap and they have to play monumentally better than they've ever played, like out of their mind crazy to have a good game. But they have to execute. They have to play well. They have to make sure that they don't give South Range anything free. They have to make sure that they don't turn the ball over, things like that. Like they can't. They're not good enough to play bad against South Range and get a win. Like that's not going to happen. If you don't execute your game plan, you're not going to beat South Range. So they have to play well. They have to execute. They have to make sure all their I's are dotted, their T's are crossed, and then they'll have a chance. But they're definitely not going to be a team. They can't have a first half like they did against Girard, right? Because they'll be down by more than 14-0, guaranteed that. And they're not going to be able to score 28 points in 2 quarters against this defense. So you got to have a much better start. You can't come out in the first half and be what we saw in the first half at Girard. So that's going to be a key, getting off to a good start. South Range has run kickoff returns back for touchdowns this year. So if you have the opening kick, you might want to, kick it out of the end zone or squib kick it or make sure that there's no return there because you don't want to give a big you definitely don't want excuse me. You definitely don't want to give him that big play to start. So maybe think about not kicking it to him in the first kickoff of the game. Maybe I don't know. That was kind of a thing they have become accustomed to. But I would actually want the ball first in this. I know you brought this question up a few weeks ago, Scotty, on when you want the ball first. This is an instance where I would want the ball first if I was Struthers.
You win
because we're on the road where they're still the underdogs. I don't care what people say or what how South Range feels in the locker room or how they've kind of South Range is the team that has not lost a conference game at home. They're not the underdogs, right? Struthers is the underdog in this game. So they have to go on the road. They have to set the tone. And I think the best way to do that is get the ball first and go down there and score. Now, that could backfire on you real quick if you don't score in that first possession. And then, South Range could get that 2-for-1 flip in the second half. But, Coach Bayek has had trust in his offense all year. And if they want to set the tone really early and really quick, getting the ball first is the best way to do that. So I would actually consider taking the ball if I won the coin toss in this particular game.
Did you see? I guess I'll have one more as far as this game.
Just real quick, because this is part of my head. Because the last thing I want is to kick off and then give South Range a big drive touchdown, because that's just a bad way to start the game. So I would want the ball first, so I can be the one that does that on the road in South Range.
Obviously, they're both gonna try to go with what works. You're gonna try to go with your bread and butter, but because this is a big game, and you would think both teams, especially Struthers, because they're the underdog, but even South Range, you talked about when it's getting talked about that this could be the team, they're always up to it and they take it to another level. But with that being said, do you think they both just go, try to do what we do best and hope that could beat the opponent? Obviously they're going to be doing that a lot during the game, but do you think there's more of a chance because this is a big game, and if you're the coaches, you want to get your players fired up, you think there's more of a chance they throw some wrinkles in there and go more into the bag of tricks a little bit on both sides because this is a big game?
No.
Okay.
No, this is South Range. They want to say, here's what we're good at. You're not as good as us on it, and we don't have to go into our bag of tricks to beat you. Because in my mind, when you do trick plays, and especially early in the game, that's kind of a signal to the other team, like, we don't think that our normal stuff can beat you, so we have to pull out our bag of tricks. And that's what, if you watch the I don't want to bring up the Chiefs too much because I don't want to sound like a homer, but if you watch the Super Bowl video from last year, like, the Chiefs defense was fired up that the 49ers scored on a trick play, because the Chiefs defense was saying, Well, if that's what they have to do to score against us, then we're going to win this game, right? Because if they have to pull out a trick play to beat us, they can't do that every play, and we're going to win this game because they can't do it normally. So South Range is going to be like, we're not going to, no, nope, nope. We're going to do what we do best, and if you can stop us, congratulations. No one has yet, but if you can stop what we do best, then tip of the hat to you, right?
Yeah, so you think it's gonna be more of a flex, like, hey,
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely. And back to what I was saying before. Remember who you are, right? That's the whole theme of I think this week for South Range. That's who they are, right? So they're going to make everyone remember who they are by playing their brand of football, nothing but, and trying to execute it at the highest level they possibly can. Now we're going to take a break, Scotty. When we come back, we have a little bit of time. We can see what's on your mind and ask the most dangerous question in all of online sports streaming. So we'll be back.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
All right, Anthony Hartley, Scotty Mincher here with Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. See them above our heads right there. And it's time to ask Scotty the question that we ask every week, that we brace for impact because it could be so dangerous. Scotty, what's on your mind, buddy?
Okay, so we
don't forget the tagline. Let's get dangerous. Let's go. Okay.
Dangerous.
You can't leave our good old friend Darkwing Duck hanging.
Yeah, 90s cartoons, the best. Yeah, let's get dangerous. Well, earlier we were talking, going over the volleyball scores from last night, and we talked Hubbard volleyball for quite a bit, and I wanted to flip it, but also stay with Hubbard and talk Hubbard football. Now, they're one of, I believe, 6 undefeated teams in the area right now, and that offense has been a juggernaut. Anthony scoring over 40 points a game to this point. But I was looking, and they have a gauntlet of a schedule the second half of the season. So far this year, Hubbard hasn't really been challenged in every game. They've been all blowouts. So what are I wanted to get your impressions, your thoughts on Hubbard so far this year. And do you think with the schedule they have coming up, what is the thing? I know they look great in their wins, but what is the one thing you think they're going to have to be better at with the schedule getting tougher if they want to keep it rolling?
Well, when I look at Hubbard and I think about them and their history, and they've had a really good, historically good football program. I think this might be the best, like the most balanced, I should say, offense that we see out of Hubbard, that we've seen out of Hubbard here on YSN since we started covering him, because they can hurt you in so many different ways. You know, Hubbard's in the past, you knew what you were getting. You're getting a heavy dose of the run, and if you were able to stop it, then you were going to put Hubbard in a bad spot. Now it's a little bit more balanced. They're still really good in the run game, but they can toss it. So that makes them super dangerous. And we always talk about what it takes to beat good teams. It's a balanced offense. And at this level especially, you know, high schools are usually built to either stop the run or stop the pass. They're usually not built for both, because to be built for both, you have to have guys that are big, and you also have to have guys that are pretty athletic, both in the same roster, both in the same defense. In a lot of high schools, especially smaller, you know, Hubbard's going to be playing a lot of bigger schools, but especially when we go to the smaller levels, they just don't have that kind of a pool of people to pull from to get a lot of both, right? So Hubbard, always good defense. Their defense is good again this year, but I love the balance of their offense, and I love that they're succeeding with a lot of balanced offense. You said it, 40 points per game. They're locked down. They might be that team that is vying for NE8 supremacy when we get to the end of the season, because how this South Range Hubbard game, South Range Struthers game goes is going to be real important for the scope of the conference early in the season, right? This is week 5. So if Hubbard can win a lot of games, and then they're looking, okay, Struthers already has a loss, South Range might be the team we're chasing, or the other way around. If Struthers is the team we're chasing, South Range already has a loss. This kind of game early between Struthers and South Range can be big for Hubbard to open up that door for them to say we have a chance in the conference. So I really like Hubbard's chances. I think they have a very tough NE8 schedule like everybody else does. A lot of good teams, a lot of good offenses to stop, a lot of good defenses to try to get by. We're going to learn a lot about Hubbard and really every team in the NE8 in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of football. So we're gonna learn. Get out your notebooks and your note cards, because it's time to learn about a lot of teams.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna learn, and I mentioned their schedule earlier, and we'll definitely find out more about it. It's a great start for Hubbard. We'll definitely find out more about them with Lakeview coming up, and you mentioned South Range. We talked a lot about the Raiders and Struthers already, and then Gerard on the schedule as well. Poland on schedule as well. So
he'll have to play Struthers and South Range eventually as well, and yeah, it's going to be a gauntlet of an NE8. NE8 is kind of like the SEC in football for high school, where it's like everyone's really, really good, and everyone's going to beat each other up, and that's what we're going to get out of the NE8 season. I can't wait for it.
And do you think? I mean, we talked a lot about Hubbard's offense to this point, but really, when you look at it and how they're scoring, but not just the scoring, the way they've held opponents down, their defense has been just as impressive to this point, and they got playmakers. Barry Reynolds has had a really good start to the year. And they got guys all over the place that have made some big plays. Jaden Smith as well for Hubbard on both sides of the ball. So I just wanted to know, when it comes to their defense, you talked about their offense and how maybe it's the most balanced they've been. Do you think it's their most complete defense to this point too that you've seen, or do you think let's wait and see until they get into the more of the meat of the schedule.
Well, Hubbard's always been good on defense. That's no shocker. They have a good defensive mentality. They always have big guys up front that are just hard to move. And that's not different this year. They're just a really good defensively mindseted program. They're always going to be a good defense. Not shocked at all that they're having the defensive year that they're going to have. And they're going to be hard to score on. Even the teams that have a little bit better offenses, I guarantee will be held below their season average. I would be shocked if at the end of the season, no matter what Hubbard's record is, I would be shocked if there's more than maybe one team or two that gets above their season average for points per game against Hubbard, because Hubbard is really just hard to score on because of how big they are and how hard they are to move and physical and big and athletic. They have a great wrestling program, so that helps things on that front line in the trenches. So they're just hard to score on, and they hold a lot of teams way below their season average, and they did that last year too. I think they held all but one team. I believe, I could be wrong, but I think they held all but one team below their season average when you come to their defense, what they were able to do. So last year it was their offense that was the bugaboo. They couldn't get consistent scoring. This year, not so much. So far, they're having really good consistent scoring, which is really good when you have a defense that's already solidified.
And it's easy to always point to the quarterback, and Alexander, he's off to a great start.
Alexander the Great, man, he's conquering everything.
Yeah. So far this season. And I just, as we go forward here, it's hard to believe we're at the halfway point this season. I know we're about to wrap up, but we had that comment from Radar, and I was wondering if, to close here, if you had any games maybe that are going a little bit under the radar for you, that not talked about, like Struthers and South Range, but other games this week that you have your eye on.
Let's go ahead and look at the week 5 schedule here and see real quick. This is one that I'm kind of keeping my eye on, because we've been impressed with what we've seen from East Palestine, but this is when the rubber meets the road. And if East Palestine's going to prove this is like a year where they're different, they got to go to Valley Christian. They got to win this game. They got to win this game against a very physical Valley Christian team. Like, these are the bullies on the block in Valley Christian. So if East Palestine wants to prove to everyone that this is a different East Palestine, they got to win this game. They got to go into Valley Christian. They got to go into enemy territory, and they got to out physical maybe the most physical team in the EOAC. They have to go there. They have to be the bigger team, and that's going to be a big game to watch to see if they can do that. I think Orange has a really good chance to go 5-0, which would be a first for a long time. Remember, in 2018, that was their first 3-0 start, 4-0 start, but they did not go 5-0 in 2018. So we'd have to dig even deeper into their history book to see when a 5-0 was there for Orange. And they have a very good chance in a Jefferson team that is struggling right now coming into Orange. So that's going to be fun to watch to see if they can do that. I'm also kind of looking down the line. I think there's a lot. I think West Branch Howland could be fun if Howland's defense, does the same thing that Cheney's defense did for them last week, where they held West Branch scoreless for a long time. I think Howland's offense can do a little bit more than Cheney's could. Maybe that could be a fun one. Western Reserve Lowville. That's not talked about a lot, but that's the MVAC Scarlet tier is going to be a fun one to watch this year too. A lot of good teams in that division of the MVAC. So MVAC Scarlet, always fun, and that should be a fun one too. So I'm thinking EP Valley Christian. I want to watch Orange to see if they can go 5-0, and then I'm thinking Western Reserve and Lowville, a big one to watch too.
All good picks there, and we'll
I had
see.
to throw in your Rockets, right? I had to throw in your Rockets.
Yeah,
You're always making me talk about my alumni. I had to make you a homer a little bit.
I appreciate you throwing me that bone, and Louisville looking good after that tough loss early to Toronto. But from what I know about Toronto, they're pretty
They're
good.
pretty good.
No shame in that. But yeah, and we'll see if DJ's alum could make a believer out of you.
I'm already a believer, but this is because they're different. They're winning and they found winning ways. But this would be like the statement, right? This would be like, okay, not only are we winning, but we have a chance to go win the EOAC. If you go on the road, you beat Valley Christian. That's your statement right there. If East Palestine can do that, so I'll be seeing how they handle that game.
Yeah, I will definitely, as well as you said, Valley Christian, really physical.
Really physical.
So will EP be up to the challenge? They look good so far.
We'll have to see Scotty in week 5, Friday. We can't wait for it. We'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 for another episode of Running Point. Scotty will be back next Wednesday from 1 to 2. You can catch him then, maybe on the Power Hour, Scotty. Hopefully on the Power Hour. We'll see you there as well. And we will see you tomorrow on Running Point from 1 to 2. Brought to you, as always, by Greenwood Chevrolet.